Okay, I hear myself. I don't see myself. How? This is annoying. Oh, here we are. Okay, yeah. I see myself now. Oh, I'm so sick. Yep, this is not good. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another stream. I am so sick. I feel really bad right now. And I wanted to watch some videos because today I'm not going to work. My actual work, you know? This is so slow. I feel, oh my god. Oh my god. God, I feel it. I feel the slowness starting to creep in. Okay, here we are. We're gonna watch a lot of videos today. All the links are in the description below. And yeah, I don't know what else to say, but enjoy. Like, enjoy. Yeah, enjoy. Yeah, I think like enjoy is in order. I need to actually put volume to this, otherwise you're not gonna listen to anything I say or like Enterprises says. I like Young Justice, so I'm curious to see this happening. Let's go.
Young Justice was one of my absolute favorite DC shows growing up. Justice League Unlimited in the first 2 seasons of Young Justice, I think, really solidified my stance as a DC fan, introducing me to a plethora of characters and concepts of the wider DC Comics universe. These include characters like The Question, Huntress, Blue Beetle, Green Arrow, Black Canary, Miss Martian, Superboy. The list just goes on and on. The first 2 seasons of Young Justice that aired on Cartoon Network really resonated with fans alike, and in my opinion was a part of the golden era of DC animation.
Young Justice is one of the best animated series coming out from DC right now.
The 2010s, alongside the banger animated movies that were coming out at the time. The storytelling was just on another level with how the writers were able to elevate these young heroes without them getting overshadowed by the heavy hitters in the Justice League. Yes. This show was unfortunately canceled after season 2 aired in 2013, but even back then I still remember the huge fan campaigns for them to revive Young Justice.
Yes, because it's good.
So beloved by many. And with the DC Universe streaming service that launched in 2018, they finally brought back the show with season 3, Young Justice Outsiders, with season 4 then airing on HBO Max a few years later. Unfortunately, I feel this was start of the downfall of the show's quality overall, and it kind of fell off from here. Don't get me wrong, the show never became bad or anything. I feel as if seasons 3 and 4 just didn't live up to the quality of the first 2 seasons. There were problems in lack of focus and pacing that sort of grew worse as time went on. I promise I actually like DC. I know the titles of my videos say otherwise, but I actually like this IP, you gotta believe me. At least when they're not producing garbage.
You need clickbait. To be fair, you need clickbait to survive.
Left and right anyway. The first season did a really good job in emphasizing its core cast. They had a set of main characters that remained the center focus throughout the season. As you saw them grow, you learned more about them, their desires, any insecurities or inner demons they'd face on a regular basis. You were able to connect with the characters like Robin, Kid Flash, Miss Martian, Artemis, and Superboy. They were the A-team. It also established some pretty decent world building, shedding light on the wider DC universe in or outside of the Justice League. Any overarching narratives were actually built up gradually and paid off at the end. That Red Arrow mole reveal had me shook when I first saw it.
I was the mole?
Yes. Yep. You were.
Yes, you were.
Yes, he went to China.
I mean, yeah, spoiler alert, but yeah, pretty nasty reveal. Oh my god, so good.
Oh, what it is? Oh, DD, what it is?
Going into season 2, the 5-year time skip I know left a bad taste in people's mouths, which is fair since there was so much character development done off screen and so many new characters introduced. Season 1 had a 13-year-old Dick Grayson as Robin. Now he's Nightwing and fully competent as a leader, while Tim Drake wears the Robin mantle.
Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Garfield Logan.
Your name's Tim? And yours is Dick?
Despite that, I still think the season...
Yours is Dick? Yes, he's called Dick. Penis Grayson.
pretty solid in its overarching narrative, with the Reach plot having Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle be the center of it all, with the Reach's goal in wanting to take over planet Earth.
It was
After the show's
really
long hiatus,
good.
it finally came
Season 3 was really good. Really good.
back with season 3. Imagine you waited years for Young Justice to return, wanting to see some of your favorites come back like Nightwing, Superboy, Artemis, maybe even hoping Wally West might come back after the end of season 2.
Oh man, Artemis is so gonna kill me for this.
Yeah, I know, he's
And
not
don't
coming
even get
back.
me started on Mom and Dad. Just tell them, okay? Kid!
Where's Wally?
He wanted me to tell you he loved you.
Ugh, so sad. So sad. Yeah. Yeah.
You waited all this time, and instead of the first half of the season focusing on the core cast of season 1 or building off the vast roster of new characters that were introduced in season 2, they spent several episodes giving screen time to Halo, Forager, and Breon, aka Geoforce.
Geoforce, did you see? I'm getting very good at not falling.
Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you?
Like, bruh, I cannot stand this dude Forager and the way he talks. Forager this, Forager, like, you're such a...
Forager is very pleasant to Forager.
Forager has a way of saying exactly
What Forager was thinking.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they are completely, utterly annoying. Yeah.
Shut the fuck.
My problem with this is that there were so many characters that were introduced in season 2 that didn't have a whole lot to do, so this was the opportunity to give them the season 1 treatment in getting to learn more about them and connect with them like we did with the season 1 cast. Apparently there's a relationship between Cassie Sands, Mark Wonder Girl, and Tim Drake Robin, but that's barely explored upon. I'm trying to see more of Blue Beetle, Static, and Bart Allen. They don't get any primary focus until the second half of season 3. The two halves of season 3 are kind of weird because you have emphasis on the new outsiders-like team with Breon, Halo, and Forager and their connection with Nightwing, but so much time is given to them over the characters brought in season 2.
I
And
hate
you also have some
Black
focus
Lightning in that season. He's such a bitchy character.
on Black Lightning and how he deals with the threat of metahuman trafficking.
Go ahead, zap me. Absorbing lightning's totally my thing.
You've never had black lightning before.
Also,
What do you mean by
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
Instead
yeah.
of showing me more of Tim Drake's character or more of Bart Allen taking up the mantle of Kid Flash after the death of Wally, let's spend more time in season 4 on Forager's uninteresting romance with another Forager-like character and Halo/Violet's struggle with identity. Like, bro.
My God, bro, nobody cares. I don't care. Bro, you think somebody cares?
Beast Boy literally formed his own team as public leader with the season 2 roster of young heroes, but like, why wasn't that the whole season? Instead of introducing new characters no one asked for, you could have had the actual Outsiders team take up the first half of season 3 as well. To make matters even worse, they introduced numerous characters in the background like Stephanie Brown's Spoiler and Cassandra Cain as Orphan.
I love Orphan. Orphan is my favorite Bat Family character, by far.
Secret Black Ops group. They really don't do anything, and Cassandra doesn't even get an arc until season 4. The inclusion of Batman Incorporated was kind of odd to me. Now, I'm not saying this as a, oh, Batman fan wants more Batman crap in a Young Justice show. They went out of their way to have Batman and several other members formally resign from the Justice League to form another covert group to tackle missions without public attention. And you would think that would have some significance, but like, it barely does. I'd rather see more of that than Halo and Forager. You introduce such an interesting concept, so I expect you to shed some light on said concept with more screen time given to those characters. There were just so many different characters that the season focused on that it became a bit unorthodox in who the main players were. There were so many different groups or teams across the latest 2 seasons alone. There's the main team, or the Young Justice team, I guess, the Justice League, the Bat Family, which then turned into Batman Incorporated, villain groups like the League of Shadows and the Light, Nightwing's team in the first half of season 3, then you have Beast Boy's team of Outsiders. Like, what's going on? There's also the issue where writers bring in multiple smaller plot threads that would lead to something bigger, but they don't do anything with it. A good example of this
because it's so slow, so freaking slow. It's so annoying.
Under control of the League of Assassins in season 3, you're like, oh damn, I wonder what they're gonna do with that storyline. You even see Damian Wayne as a baby, but you see those characters like twice across both seasons with no significant follow-up on how that'll tie into the grand plot of the show. The end of season 4 teased more
how long
dark
has it
side
been
and
since
gritty
season 4? Like 2 years? 3? We ain't getting a new season anytime soon, so it's gonna be really annoying.
witnesses evil team of baddies, which includes the introduction of Kara Zor-El, Big Barda, and Zatanna's former student who turned bad. But this is literally a post-credit scene in the season 4 finale, and they probably won't make a season 5, so that's yet another unresolved plot to add to the list. Young Justice Phantom Zone season 4 had the promise of actually...
I mean, like, I miss so much Young Justice, but we ain't gonna get anything from this cartoon show anymore. I know it.
Focusing on the OG cast of characters, with the season having arcs centering around each character that was still around. First arc centered around Miss Martian and Superboy, which led to Superboy's supposed death. Obviously, he wasn't actually dead. He was just trapped in the Phantom Zone for like the entire season, in which you see him interact with General Zod.
Also, really cringe and annoying.
Leading up to a big confrontation once they both actually get out of the Phantom Zone. There's an arc about Zatanna, one with Artemis, along with Cassandra Cain and her connection to Lady Shiva. There's one with Rocket on New Genesis, one centered on Aqualad, or I guess Aquaman now. But there's one giant problem, or at least one of the few issues I had with the season as a whole. Where the hell is the Nightwing content at? Nightwing doesn't even do anything of it.
Yeah, dude. Let's go Nightwing. But yeah, no, I mean, I liked season 3 a lot. I know it has its drawbacks, and season 4 felt like returning to the status quo, like focusing on the OGs. But at the same time, oh boy, it was painful. It was kind of slow, like... I don't know, like drop after drop of content, and felt so strained.
Or have any good screen time until the final few episodes of the season, but he's not even the center focus of that arc. It's about stopping Zod and the cast of characters who are shown throughout the season, teaming up to stop Zod's evil plan. Bro's in the poster, the intro, and everything. He didn't get jacked. My boy Richard has been a main player since day one. What the hell is this nonsense? I'm not trying to sound like a greedy fanboy or anything. I just want to see some more dick, that's all.
Hey, yo! Hey, whoa! Whoa! You calm down!
That Vandal Savage and the Light would be the primary antagonist all throughout the course of the show, since they were set up in season 1, and I guess that's still kind of the case, but they keep introducing so many new villains and plot threads that it's easy to almost forget, like, oh yeah, the Light is still planning something devious in the background. Season 4 has such a heavy focus on Zod, it's like, damn, whatever happened to Darkseid and Apocalypse with the Light? The animation in later seasons definitely didn't improve, to say the least. Many flashbacks, for example, about Vandal Savage or Zod would just be still images, like it's a freaking slideshow presentation or something. It may seem nitpicky or not worthy to complain about, but when you nearly have an entire episode dedicated to the backstory of Vandal Savage and it's looking like this, it gets annoying to look at real fast. The animation in general just isn't as smooth as the first 2 seasons. It's a bit more stiff and rigid, and they introduce even more characters into the mix, like a few Legion of Superhero members from the future, a few of Zatanna's students. Hell, in season 3 they introduced Cyborg with him being fused with a mother box, but Bro is non-existent in season 4 to my knowledge. And then you have General Zod as the main
god, that's the problem you get when you have too many characters in one show. You branch out, and then you fail to keep them like all within the screen time that you have, because people are gonna be fan of different characters: Superboy, Kid Flash, Artemis, Nightwing, Zatanna, etc, 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 and nobody's gonna get like what they want, like almost always.
Seasons 3 and 4 are bad or unwatchable. They still have enjoyable moments, and I think it's serviceable. It's just a massive step down in quality in terms of storytelling, pacing, character writing, and even animation. The show just became way too bloated over time and lost focus with shifting narratives every other episode. It would have been better to give light to an established set of characters that the audience already has an attachment to, instead of just introducing new character after new character after new plot point after new plot point. The writers had so many cool ideas that could work on their own, but kind of crammed it all into one season, while simultaneously setting up more future characters and plot elements. You could honestly have...
Yeah, but, well, yes, but we also run into the problem that is, we don't, like, you don't have enough time, you don't have enough budget to do that.
An entire spin-off just based on Batman Incorporated or The Outsiders, which probably would have worked to the show's benefit. I wouldn't mind a season 5, but it feels as if the show gets worse with every new season, so who knows if that's even the right
I like it. I like it. Every season I like it more. Wait, whoa. Slow down. Slow the frick down. Whoops. Whoopsie. I'm sorry.
Now, let me tell you
something. There we go. Okay. So it was a great video. It was entertaining. it didn't go as in depth as I would have thought, but also I liked it. So Enterprises, yeah, pretty good, pretty based. But also I like it, and I mind. I would like to get us like season 5, season 6, even season 7. Like, you know, 10 seasons. I don't mind. I would really like more. Now we're gonna jump into the next video. We're not gonna leave any time to breathe. And we're gonna jump into why Below Zero failed next to Subnautica. I like Subnautica. It's fun to watch because I am terrified of it. I streamed it a while ago, and you know what? We're gonna jump into it. The casual gamer. This is a long video, so strap yourself in, I guess. 2, 1, bonk. We should have died there, also.
Was a sleeper hit that emerged from early access in 2018, gaining a cult notoriety in a matter of months. Being made for a mere $3 million when compared to, say, Call of Duty's marketing budget, which was $300 million alone,
oh my.
You can appreciate why it ended up in the hands of so few gamers as a whole. Fans adore it, reviewers critically praised it, and so its popularity isn't up for debate, but its fate of only becoming a cult classic rather than a widespread
I don't think it's a cult classic. Like, it's just a good game, you know? Like, a classic? I don't think so. I don't think there's more classics anymore. Like, there ain't. It's like a good survival game, an amazing one at that, but it's just that.
I think is a massive loss to the gaming world. In Subnautica, you start out as what amounts to an unnamed nobody on an unremarkable ship, stranded on an uncharted, uncaring world. Human advancements are clearly extraordinary, but the crash has left you with little more than a fabricator and your trusty PDA. It's this darkly humorous AI which serves as your only companion throughout the adventure.
Your probability of survival has just increased to unlikely, but plausible.
And the game starts with it requesting that you hunt down blueprints and minerals so it can get to work.
You know what's like great about Subnautica? The freedom that it gives you. You can explore anything, and that's so scary. You can go to like the Aurora, you can go to the islands, you can go to the deep dark depths and die to a Reaper Leviathan. You can do anything. The problem is, once you finish the game and you find out every single secret, a sequel is hard, you know? Because you have to live up to that mystery, and you have to generate another one. But how do you do that when the first one was so good? Almost impossible, in my opinion.
Work building you the necessary hardware to lift you back up the food chain and aid your escape. Through a combination of budget restraints and innovative design choices, Subnautica became a proverbial masterclass in the less is more philosophy when handling sci-fi. This is because your character is facing a scenario where they've been stripped down to the bare essential survival tools, and so much of the advanced human civilization you come from is merely insinuated or hinted at, leaving a huge amount to the imagination. This is how Subnautica combines the satisfaction of futuristic base building with simple survival tasks like catching fish with your bare hands, and for the sake of immersion, it works very well.
Yes.
For the most part, the protagonist is never seen or heard.
Oh no.
And you embody this character from the moment they leap into an escape pod, get knocked out, and emerge to see their burning ship within a peaceful blue ocean. Sex, greed,
not so peaceful, mind you.
race, age, it doesn't matter, because from the moment this masterpiece of immersion kicks off, it really is you, who is stranded on an alien planet with nothing but your wits and a bulletproof PDA to keep you company.
Yeah.
Your character's origin is barely expanded upon.
Oh,
it's
no.
not relevant to
Forget
the core
about
narrative
it.
of the
We
game
don't
either.
we don't
Instead,
care. Like,
everything
we ain't important in the grand scale of things.
of relevance happens after your adventure begins, and it indulges in a specific trope featured in over a century of sci-fi epics, from John Carter all the way through to The Matrix. in which an
I love the
isolated protagonist
Matrix.
is pulled into a cosmic conspiracy that just keeps getting bigger and bigger, slowly transforming you from a humble evacuee to a galactic savior before the adventure is out.
Call me Andrew Tate the way I take this red pill.
And then there's Subnautica Below Zero. Enter Robin Ayu. The silent Riley has been swapped out for a cocky, adrenaline junkie xenobiologist on a personal mission to investigate her sister's death.
This is the farthest I can take you on company space bucks, Robin. You sure you want this? The research isn't everything.
It is to me. And Sam. I need to know what happened.
It's a different...
Within the first seconds of the game, she establishes her absolute contrasting character, and indeed the game's tempo when she announces,
I'll find my way back.
And then launches toward the supposed abandoned planet 4546b through an asteroid field. Spoiler alert, she doesn't make it back, because she conveniently forgot to take any tools with her for her journey or to aid her escape, starting with pretty much the exact same toolkit as Riley, who was stranded 8 years ago. The isolation that came from being shipwrecked in the first game set the scene for sure, but it was the abandoned PDAs telling tragic tales, and Riley's tight-lipped reaction to everything he found that set the tone, reinforcing that you should probably be taking all of this very seriously.
Whoa, oh, that's so cool. Oh,
now we get to listen to Robin's bravado that contextually is totally irrational.
Oh, Potato. I miss that fluffy little couch walrus.
The problem is that this might be something you only pick up in the back of your mind, but the way she comments out loud constantly undermines the extent of the peril she's in. This means she's either exceptionally brave.
If the character that you're playing as doesn't take it seriously, neither will you. Like, it's basic writing. If you have a main character and you're supposed to, like, see that main character struggling, you can't make them just, like, make fun of everything. That's just not how it works.
Or very stupid, neither of which is the ideal candidate for a protagonist, because at the end of the day, you want it to be you, with as little predefined characterization as possible. Immediately after crash landing and kicking the door off a space-hardened titanium shell like a Terminator, she starts uttering PG-13 comments that have about as much immersive nuance as an instruction manual.
Holy smokes! That did not go as planned.
This was to be the first red flag that the direction of Subnautica had changed, both figuratively and literally, with artistic director Charlie Cleveland passing the reins to David Kalina. David did certainly display a passion for fan feedback in an interview with ex-Escapist editor Nick Calandra.
Yeah, people get attached to things, and that's a tricky thing to kind of keep in mind as a developer.
You didn't.
We've had
apparently
3 different voice actors for Robin, and Robin the character changed substantially a couple times as well, so
clearly hoping that the changes would be received well by both new players and old fans. But in reality, the changes may have been accepted by many, but they were praised by few. Of course, it's always easier in hindsight to point toward red flags, and I don't believe this reflects badly on his direction per se, but he did talk about how they intentionally made the game more accessible by removing some gameplay beats that made the original, well, the original.
The original, yeah. Why? Why did you ruin it? Why?
It's like kind of a little bit of a snazzier package in ways.
When you first dive in,
see what you did there.
The early game grind is at first very familiar, with the surrounding safe shallows filled with the usual suspects. But the game's imagery is as captivating as it ever was, with a sort of clinical Star Trek vibe for your tools matched to a backdrop of striking alien environments, now complemented by stormy Arctic water and gorgeous night cycles whenever you break the surface. The user interface and interactable elements
they definitely improved upon a lot of things.
Polished, which is one of the first game's shortcomings, having been built at cost in Unity. But most of these additions look to be exclusively lifted from the modding community, with a number of essential quality of life improvements like automatically pulling items from your storage while using the fabricator, or being able to craft multiple items simultaneously, still shunned in favour of what they did add, so I wouldn't exactly chalk this up as a win on the part of Below Zero. As you begin the inevitable push outward for something more exciting than titanium and sea glide fragments, at some point the disappointing reality of Below Zero's shrunken map will become apparent.
What?
You won't discover this in the first few hours of playing for sure, but the first game featured countless exciting nuggets of content laid out across a sparse and expansive ocean.
Yes.
It took dozens of hours to explore, always left you feeling small and insignificant, and actively discouraged you from approaching the edge simply by placing it so far away and making it the scariest biome in the game.
Oh my god, yes.
With so much to do in between you and there, why even bother, other than for the thrill? But in Below Zero, you straight up hit an ice wall in 2 directions before your first base is even complete, and it doesn't really take too much longer than
Oh no.
that to receive the chilling PDA announcement when heading in the opposite direction.
Warning. Entering ecological dead zone. The prospect for survival is fast approaching 0.
Especially as certain plot requirements will take you within feet of this border anyway.
Damn satellite hasn't passed by in a while. I guess that was your doing.
The majority of what you do find between the shallows and the map edge is packed with twisting tunnels, tight crevices.
I'll say it again. Oh, I'm dying. Like fixing and resolving and doing like uncovering the mystery for the first time, it's really thrilling. But when you have a sequel on the works, yeah, I mean they didn't back then, but if you have a sequel on the works, you run the risk of screwing up.
And dainty little caves, all of which are an absolute nightmare to navigate with anything other than a sea glide. The game does feature some wonderful new set pieces that expand the Subnautica world while staying every bit true to the aesthetic vision, including an aged habitat, evidence of industrial work by Altera, and a downed spaceship called the Mercury. The Mercury in particular is by far the closest to the wreckages and survivors' tales of the original game, and does an awesome job of scattering the PDAs so you read them in a similar chronological order.
So it's a blast from the past,
before inevitably ending in tragedy.
My instincts are never wrong. Stefanos has always been overly cautious.
As you navigate these corridors, your vehicle's spotlights
I remember dying.
The entrance and predators circling just beyond. Reading these stories and collecting new toys for your base, you will feel as alive in the world of Subnautica as you ever have. But aside from these 3 genuinely memorable locations that make up no more than 2 or 3 hours of gameplay, and a bunch of throwaway alien ruins that shamelessly serve as nothing more than beacons to draw you to a new area, the majority of the remaining story takes place on land. And so
which could be pretty good.
Fragments of narrative on the seafloor that are
it's something different. Could be really good. Just they didn't use it correctly, I guess.
Understandably abandoned because their inhabitants are, well, dead. Now we fall back to the lazy trope in which voice memos that completely incriminate everybody featured are just scattered around abandoned Altera outposts.
What if I just found a way to take care of the deadly bacterium?
Which, in theory, have actually been investigated by Altera before being abandoned.
I can only conclude that the cause of the collapse
so they should have taken
employee
them.
negligence.
It's just lazy and leaves a bad taste in the back of your mouth if immersion was what you were looking for when you came to this game. Of the 3 outposts where these plot developments take place, those in Zero and Delta are in fact suitably compact and free of hazards to allow you to explore, bank cool new habitat modules, and escape before they wear out their welcome.
Integrating new PDA data.
The temperature gauge was one of the things that the devs toyed with keeping or removing.
We had a survival system for the cold and changed it a bunch
it
of
was
times
like a
and
good call to keep it because I know it makes you have to hurry and do things.
Moved it and then put it back.
And in these areas, it served nicely to make you pick up the pace and get back to the water without messing around. This should have been the template for all 3. The largest island, however, featuring the Phi Robotics Hub, is the biggest biome in the game and contains the bulk of the game's core narrative. And negotiating all its intersections is nothing short of a chore. It contained a rabbit warren of white tunnels, white open spaces, white closed spaces, and uncoincidentally, white flora and fauna. It's freaking huge and so boring to traverse. Now, we do get a return to form as we approach the epicenter of this segment. The area is infested with gigantic ice worms that fit the Leviathan brief perfectly. And although the regularity of their attacks rates over time, when they finally make an appearance, most often you hear them erupt behind you while you're on the move, and so it encourages you not to turn back and look, which does a great job of preserving their mystique. Unless, of course, you are unwise or unlucky enough to brave the area without adequate tools, at which point they zero in and take you out with extreme prejudice, as is the Subnautica way.
Yes. Oh my god!
These
that's so cool.
stalkers, however, will make you long for the water. No longer restricted by underwater viewing distance or assigned biomes, their presence isn't scary as much as it is just irritating to manage. They can be circumnavigated sometimes, but moving through them isn't possible like it is with stalkers and sharks. This is because the movement controls are fine for exploring, but they weren't designed for combat and evasion beyond perhaps taking pot shots at scavengers, and so now feel actively clunky in contrast to the 6-axis maneuverability found underwater.
Oh my god, really? You really have to do that like that? Oh my god.
And so, in a couple of cases, I found myself on a ledge, taking pot shots at their little hitbox between attack animations. Having then found their babies in a cave, I realised how much I resented the game for putting me in this position. I pretty much killed nothing in the first game beyond unfortunate fish, and a couple of incessant crab squids. Enjoying the immersion born out of trying to be responsible within the fictional ecosystem.
The Aurora's radioactive fallout will have devastating effects on the alien ecosystem if not contained within the next 24 hours.
Subnautica was never about facing creatures you could do battle with while equipped with just a survival knife like a trained soldier.
Got you, motherfucker.
It was perfect when there were creatures that you could swim around, or massive boss-level monstrosities that scare the life out of you, which you wouldn't dream of fighting, and nothing in between.
Oh god!
Thanks
God,
to
that's so scary.
Terrain, tedious navigation, and an unremarkable soundtrack for the area, the few set pieces that are found simply aren't enough to justify the scale of this land-based segment. Especially as the conclusion to the story about your sister is so positively anticlimactic, you're not actually sure if it's ending.
sad.
This wasn't negligence. That's not Sam. This was something else.
The voice memos you uncover simply don't tell the whole story, which is nothing new for Subnautica. But whereas once it would be up for you to decipher the big picture as best you could, this time around we play as Robin, who actually came to the planet and went through all this survivor hell just to discover these very details. As far as I could tell, it was none other than Marguerite who encouraged your sister to blow up the dig site. She makes a joke about the explosives she made being way too powerful, and then she gives your sister some of these overpowered explosives. Afterward, your sister fudged up the job, which killed herself and a colleague. I get that Altera are supposed to be the evil faceless.
That's so sad and so depressing and
works
just so anticlimactic.
The thing is, the only evidence we see in the game of any wrongdoing is Marguerite being thoroughly irresponsible and your sister being even more incompetent. These are actually pretty solid beats for an interesting story with a mixed moral message, if you were a silent observer like Riley.
Yeah!
But here we are, playing as Robin, who now knows, and what does she do?
Fuck all.
When you find Marguerite, she just sits around and ignores you. And when you have your evidence that she's at fault, she's nowhere to be found, and Robin never even bothers radioing her. Robin travelled across a galaxy for answers.
I am starting to see how depressing and how not entertaining this sequel was.
Weak. Anticlimactic barely covers it. It's unfinished is what it is.
You need anything else? Don't bother me.
And so by adding physical characters to the game where there were none before and then having an irrational lack of communication between them, all it does is just highlights the lack of realism. This is why the added narrative, as welcome as it may have been, narratives are awesome, obviously, it spoiled the formula and didn't improve it. And speaking of the soundtrack, the critically acclaimed sounds and music from the first game were nothing short of a golden gauntlet laid down by Simon Chilinsky. and responsibility to take the mantle forward after his dismissal was handed to Ben Prundy.
Why?
It was a huge job, and he took it in his stride, shifting the excellent techno-ambient vibe of the original towards something of a slower and more mysterious and whimsical nature. 54 independent tracks apparently play their part in bringing Below Zero to life,
Whoa,
such as inciting calm in the Arctic shallows, or experiencing awe in the face of beauty,
that's
or
maybe a little bit
intrigue
too deep of
during
an analysis.
exploration. Memorable as they are, in truth, while reviewing, I didn't recognise half of them, which makes me question how the music was actually implemented into exploration, or indeed how well written they were. And this is chalk and cheese next to Subnautica. Somebody as versatile as Chilinsky was not an easy act to follow, especially as alongside the music, he created the iconic and visceral sound effects, which were a tremendous part of Subnautica's identity.
Welcome aboard, Captain. All systems online.
The changes
I hate the Cyclops though.
One example would be the sound Riley
Unmaneuverable.
makes when he makes it to the surface after nearly drowning.
There we go.
You can really feel it. But Robin? Nothing.
Silence.
This is an immersion-driven underwater survival game where breathing is the core currency of the game.
Yep.
And they dumped the sound of gasping for air. Why? The final
Laziness?
result of Brandy's effort was a somewhat
They forgot?
dull and mellow tribute, with the punchy entries still failing to encapsulate the scene with the same spirit as those from the first. If you're a fan of Subnautica, then you only need to hear a few gentle notes to be taken straight back to the safe shallows, alongside the gentle bubbling of your rebreather.
Subnautica chills.
After hours of braving the depths of nothing but a reinforced
Subnautica vibes, lo-fi vibes. Oh my god, I'm
hard
so
to
sick.
put all of the parts together, you finally don the armored shell of your exosuit and remind Planet 4546b who is the king of tech on this rock.
Yeah, we are.
And then there's the mysterious vocals around the crash site that might give you an unshakable angst that you're suddenly pushing into Leviathan territory.
So scary.
Or last but certainly not least, the punchy finale as you prepare to leave the world and your beloved bases behind forever.
1.
I never finished the game actually. Like, I know how it ends. I never finished it.
The finale of Below Zero was cool, but it just doesn't compare.
Where are we?
Naturally, the base building was evolved too, this time including a cavernous pod that can be divided up with internal walls, which was a welcome addition to the solely circular structures of Subnautica. Its functionality was still limited, but the modular interior gave so much more potential than the circular pods, and it's difficult to remember playing Subnautica without them. A glass roof was added too, which allowed for the skybox and god rays to further light up your base, and these were just two of the various innovations that allowed the player to better capitalize on the beauty of the world and construct that unique wind-down space that you would crave after braving new depths. Which is probably why Unknown Worlds then updated Subnautica to include these additional habitats, as you will discover if you play it now.
No, I didn't know that.
Below Zero's greatest traits in a
I didn't play it like.
But these
I didn't play further.
As welcome and innovative.
Wait,
as
I really need to. I really need to go to the bathroom. Actually, I really. Fuck. Okay, I'm back. And I have a visitor right here, but you can't see him. That's my dog. My dog is here. The dog.
Are easy to identify and were to be expected from a team so competent that they built the first game on a shoestring budget, especially considering base building was one of the pillars the game was built on. For all these pros and cons, it wasn't actually the shrinking of the map or the frustrating changes to the terrain
if you have
in both
a,
the water and the
tinier
land.
map,
The immersion
it could work. Like, it actually could.
Spoiling narrative.
What the frick is that?
Or the loss of an outstanding soundtrack that is most to blame for the dramatic drop in user scores, in my opinion. You see, Metacritic showed a drop in aggregated review scores from 87 to 82 between games.
Which is not that bad.
A user score decrease from 86 right down to 65.
That's a lot!
Which is like very good to okay. And this tells us quite a lot. Critics generally play under time pressure, and if you sail through below zero, one biome after another, and scavenge only to progress the story, you'll feast on a banquet rich with narrative, pretty light and relentless monsters. You'll likely throw together a quirky hodgepodge base that gets the job done and makes you smile.
Yes.
Discover a small handful of exciting new locations, skip over much of the map as you whiz around, and make it out alive with a mighty tale to tell. It would be a blast, no doubt. But if you do this, of course, you'll miss out on a tremendous amount of what Subnautica is all about. Freedom to roam the environment in any direction, to scavenge, to hoard and build, to stumble across abandoned facilities and stories to uncover. The freedom to test your wits by pushing on into territorial waters of alien predators. In the first
distracted
Subnautica,
by my
I allowed
dog.
myself to take immense time to absorb and then harvest the seabed, progressing the story periodically when I felt like it.
Like, that's what I liked about Subnautica, like the absolute freedom and like the crafting and exploring and getting of the and collecting items was really fun actually. Like, it made it very entertaining because you knew what you needed and you were like, I need to find this, this and this. Okay, we are gonna do it.
Racked up almost 200 hours on my first
God damn!
Which is rare for me. I only really enjoy this kind of grind in the most exceptionally immersive games. I literally burn the Subnautica gauges into my screen. Look, I'm not joking. My point is, it requires an immensely careful balance of gameplay.
Yeah, go. You can go. You're free to go. Yeah. I'm sick. I'm sick and I'm gonna complain a lot but not do anything about it.
Play mechanics that allow for the setup
the man
of
that I
an
am.
build cycle to be as addictive and have so much longevity as this. And in that respect, Below Zero fell a long way short. And I believe the reason for this is because they rebalanced and irreparably spoiled how the horror to terror ratio works in the game, which was by far their most egregious crime when compared to all the immersion-spoiling gameplay changes. Charlie Cleveland identified in an interview with Ars Technica that the horror aspect of Subnautica could almost be described as an unintentional side effect.
Yes,
released the Reaper Leviathan, people went completely bonkers, and it's like then we just lined up all these other big creatures, not all scary, but that fundamentally changed our development by watching players and seeing.
There's something really cool about seeing like big ass creatures like in a map, in a natural habitat. You know, like dinosaurs or big leviathans.
Actually responded to.
I think most fans actually know this by this point. It does come up quite a lot. The game has no scripted events or jump scares, not one, but instead prompts you to navigate near or occasionally through bodies of water that are hunting grounds for leviathans. Actually, one in particular, and we all know exactly which one I'm talking about. Everybody has a different story about the Reaper. And in my case, having gone into Subnautica completely
I hate it.
After maybe 10 hours of gently exploring the seabed and building a little base, the creation of a radiation suit led me to a casual expedition of retrieving pieces of scrap from the back of the sunken Aurora.
I know,
You have to believe me when I tell you, I had absolutely no inkling whatsoever that anything more dangerous than a bone shark existed in the game. It was thrilling.
I did.
My earphones were ramped up so I could enjoy the sounds of my rebreather. And it was with the enticing thought of extending a vertical tube so my little base could extend above the water that I calmly floated about the seabed when I heard an unusual cry in the distance.
Oh God,
That's
no.
new, I thought as I returned to the task at hand.
That's weird, that's all you thought? You didn't think of running away?
To my nervous system was so absolute and utterly crippling. I think I did cry out and pulled my head back so far I literally developed a third chin.
Oh my God! Even I got scared.
The way it whips you around is something I swear I'll take to my grave.
God,
yes, I've known for a long time now that killing the Reaper with a knife for TikTok views is possible, but most of us don't do that because being scared of it is fun. It aids the immersion.
Yes, definitely.
You sit there and you craft a knife and you knife a Reaper Leviathan somehow 1,000 times and you finally manage to kill it.
1,000?
It doesn't play a sound, but it just kind of falls limp and it just kind of drifts down to the bottom of the ocean. It's really unrewarding.
This approach to moments of horror versus the ongoing angst that you feel simply by moving around in the dark turned out to be a wildly popular subject that I explained in my previous video, so I'll keep it short as you might have heard me discuss it before. But I like to quote an 18th century Gothic writer named Anne Radcliffe, who famously helped define the difference between terror and horror when she argued that terror and horror are so far opposite that the first expands the soul and awakens the faculties to a high degree of life.
I beg your pardon?
The other contracts, freezes, and nearly annihilates them. Now, I know this sounds complicated, but I'm onto something, I promise. All that means is, terror is the constant fear that you're about to experience something scary. And so you continue to feel the thrill of being on edge.
Oh, okay, I see. It's an important
Horror,
difference.
on the other hand, is literally experiencing
I
that
hate
scary
horror.
effect. So jump scares are horrifying.
No, thank you.
But the build up to that horrifying moment,
God, I hate
the
horror.
ongoing dread that at some point it might come, that is terror.
This ecological biome matches 7 of the 9 preconditions for stimulating terror in humans.
Films that rely on brutal deaths over and over, like say slashers, aren't actually scary because when you experience
they get
enough
goofy
horror, you build up a
after a
resistance
while.
to it, and it loses its effect.
Yep.
It's human nature. And so the best cinematic experiences use frightening scenes sparingly so that they can keep you on edge for the remaining runtime.
Yes. If you never know when it's coming, it's just so good.
Great examples of this nuanced balance can naturally be found in cinema, like the scene from The Thing, where John Carpenter builds tension as you wait for the moment that the Petri dish will explode and reveal the killer. He keeps you tense. And then comes the bait and switch, as he masterfully distracts you with some dialogue and your guard is down.
You were the only one that could have got to that blood. We'll do you last.
That's when the horror comes. He reinforces that it won't come when you expect it, but it will come eventually.
It will come. It come.
And stay afraid. This is a balance that only the best get right, and this is where Subnautica absolutely excelled. If you stuck to the path, you could complete the game with very little exposure to these scary elements.
Yeah.
But it used the promise of precious resources or tantalizing clues that something might be hidden close by to beckon you into the darkness. And that was when the game got real. This particular Reaper got me around the Aurora, as it did so many others, specifically because the low visibility and scattered goodies were implied to be part of the set piece, part of the crash landing. But they weren't. They were all part of the Reaper's hunting ground. And if you followed the trails of breadcrumbs, the spontaneous event that might follow would be so memorable. that it would ensure you would treat every new area henceforth with the caution it deserved.
Yes.
This is what turned a 40-hour game into a 200-hour game for me, and I loved every second of it. My senses were always dialed up to 11 as I explored, and in fairness, it was
after a while it gets repetitive, I guess. I don't know, I can't remember. I played it such a long time ago.
Because when these moments did come, they were so very hard to forget.
Yes. I hate those crabs. Those crabs are the worst.
Below Zero completely misunderstood this concept. Kalina talks about making the game more accessible for anybody interested in the game.
Yeah,
unfortunately, people who are just...
Games aren't made for, like, everyone. Like, they are meant to be played by everyone. You can't. You get, like, disasters such as Call of Duty and, like, most battle royales
in the game are not the same immersion-obsessed fanbase that lifted the first title on their shoulders and screamed from the rooftops that this game needs more attention. People who are just interested in the game want to have the infamous horror they heard about from the first game to be handed to them on a platter, without having to immerse themselves in an unproven slow burner that occasionally uses horror elements as a reward for your patience. And if you need evidence, let me tell you. Take the squid shark, for example, which is likely the first leviathan you'll encounter in a fissure beneath the twisty bridges, guarding a cave spotted with some much-needed early-game resources. A PDA entry from an Altera employee named Fred does a good job of setting the tension.
I'm not gonna get pooped out of the back end of a sea monster to save Altera some money.
Shortly after this, you'll inevitably see it, patrolling the waters and looking menacing. It's a gnarly-looking creature too, and while tragically small due to Below Zero's obsessive reliance on enclosed spaces, more importantly, it's unable to wander far and wide. It bounces off the walls like a goldfish in a bowl, and it's almost guaranteed to attack you within seconds of being in the cave. Again, and again, and again. I swear this thing could see through the bloody walls as well. Anxiety-inducing, yes, there was fear there for sure, but not because of the anxiety of hearing that fateful roar and knowing it's time to make a mad dash and hope that this isn't the time that it gets you, but instead because its constant attacks might get you killed and you'll lose your precious resources. These scare tactics were not at all reminiscent of the thalassophobia-inducing anxiety of the first, where the vast open spaces left you feeling hopelessly small and vulnerable. Sometime after this, we meet the giant prawn, or shrimp, or calvicerate leviathan if you want to be technical about it. And if this wasn't on the shortlist of rejected content from the first game, then I don't know what is. But being the ocean's apex predator, it replaced none other than the iconic Reaper.
Oh, that's odd.
I guess its mouth is supposed to make you jump back in shock when you realise that it isn't in fact a prawn. Duh. Taking the vast differences in design out of the equation, then consider this. The Reaper was tactically located in locations like, for example, just beyond the entrance point of the Aurora or just beyond the endgate phase portal. Heading where you were told and proceeding with caution meant that a direct confrontation could be avoided. Eventually it would probably happen, but it would be on your own time and because you pushed your luck. This giant shrimp though? This thing was set to patrol directly over the opening, which led into the deep caves, a spot you visit constantly whether accessing the Altera mines or the endgame cave system. You came here so often, you're forced into its path repeatedly. It lost its mystique before it had the chance to create any, and as a result there's no longer a foreboding feeling as you navigate its hunting grounds, which leaves the entire segment woefully boring. And it's only then that you begin to realise how much reliance Subnautica placed on the fear of the unknown, especially in the deeper, darker segments, to distract you from the more modest environments. This wasn't always the case, obviously, but it's no coincidence that the Reapers often haunt arid plains with limited viewability. Considering
it's
that the twisted
smart.
bridges were frustrating to navigate, the sunken potholes were confusing, the frozen landscapes were a miserable chore, the vents remind you of little more than mosquito swarms in summer, and the overall size seemingly being a fraction of Subnautica's, it starts to become apparent how lacking Below Zero's biome offering actually is. Compare this to Subnautica's gentle shallows, lush islands, fluorescent bulb zone, mushroom caves, blood caves, Lost River, Aurora Perimeter, the Aurora itself, literal square kilometers of varied ocean floor that contain countless treats and an excess of mysterious alien ruins, and the comparison is painfully one-sided. However, for all of that, thank the gods that Below Zero pulled it out of the bag for the endgame segment.
Did they?
After so many hours expanding through the oceans of Subnautica, one of its most memorable transitions was the discovery of the Lost River, one end of which contained the beautiful giant cove tree, which marked the plunge into the endgame biome. Expansive lava fields protected by the largest leviathans yet guarded a sunken alien sanctum, inside of which awesome alien machinery provided some vital answers.
We are curious whether you swim with the current or fight against it, as they did.
For a survival game, this is the stuff dreams are made of, because most players would understandably presume the ocean held all the secrets, and so these lengthy final biomes exceeded all possible expectations.
Yeah.
The sheer scale of the journey through them reminded you that, Cyclops or not, you were still a small fish in a big pond, forcing you to once again plan out expeditions that would have you burn through your fully stocked cupboard of consumables. And so what was this mighty finale replaced with? Caves.
Yay!
Horrible, cramped, samey, claustrophobic, boring caves. Apparently designed to be oppressively enclosed and easy to get lost in if you don't have a good sense of direction, and haunted by no less than 4 comically ill-suited predators, considering the confined terrain.
Proceed with caution. A Leviathan class creature.
Oh boy.
Navigating these areas was nothing short of tedious. There is literally not one single redeeming feature, except for, I guess, the kind of cool-looking crystals. These Leviathans are no doubt the game's most memorable predator, and aesthetically they do stand up to Subnautica's dragons that they replaced, with their long flowing tail and creepy legs that was presumably influenced by cave-dwelling insects. They might have even had the potential to match the Reaper's intimidating presence if integrated effectively, like for example if there had just been one and it was super deadly and seeing it forced you to double back. But instead, cramped in as they are, they target you so relentlessly that avoiding them becomes pointless, transforming a wonderfully designed enemy into a simple obstacle that requires just a few medkits and a fully charged repair tool to bypass.
That seems annoying.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and so it's quicker and actually less intimidating to just head through their path, take the hit and move on, just like the shrimp. And just like the squid, climbing out of your prawn suit would...
So all enemies became the same, basically.
Minister repairs as you scan the dark ocean for your aggressor used to be the most nerve-wracking maneuver in Subnautica. You'd be convinced that something was silently coming up behind you for a death blow. Now it just becomes a matter of course as you get into a rhythm of being tossed about, and then repairing, and then rinse repeat.
Yeah.
They're not scary. They're just not. And so if you thought the giant prawn had its allure smashed to pieces, then this thing is 10 times worse, because it acts more like a dog that keeps nipping at the postman's ankles than a god-tier apex predator that's stalking your scent. And when you compare the Shadow Leviathan and this endgame area to the Lost River, where you try to outrun ghost Leviathans and crab squids in your Cyclops, that was so much fun. Buzzing around your ship, fixing cracks and putting out fires. It was just so memorable, and a tense run through their breeding ground left you shaken after you made it out the other side.
It's like a rave. It's like going to a rave. Oh, it's like going to a rave. Oh my god.
The final crystal cave is a welcome and instantly recognizable design, but considering it represents the finale of the entire game, it hardly goes toe-to-toe with the cavernous lava pits of the first.
I mean, it's pretty cool though.
The fact that the Cyclops doesn't even exist in this game was a controversial choice, to say the least.
I
Because
hate
when
the
Cyclops
Cyclops,
arrived in Subnautica,
so
it was one of
I
the
don't
most
care.
surprising and rewarding discoveries throughout. A sub so massive that you couldn't believe that it could even be in the game.
Yeah.
That you controlled first person, which, along with its unrefined collision physics, only went and upped the immersion of the game even more. It was your moving castle, and being able to build habitat components
I mean,
on
that's
board
cool, but
was inspired.
I just
is,
hate
with
the
mostly
Cyclops.
shallow terrains, tiny cave systems, ice covering much of the surface, and sporadic vegetation sticking out every which way, even if it were available, it would have been ill-suited to the map. The iconic little sea moth was painful
like
to
the
lose
tiny-
too,
the
but in
tiniest
fairness,
map
the sea
ever.
truck was every bit as well designed and a great
Below
addition.
zero, I mean.
The problem was, in order to make the shrunken map less evident to players, player swimming speed was reduced. The ultra glide fins were removed, the booster tank was nerfed, and the sea truck was slower to start with and got worse with every section attached. It also featured useless modules like the sleeper and the aquarium too, and the more you added, the more likely the truck was to get wedged into terrain, all of which worked against it. And then by presenting it as a competitor to the Cyclops Seamoth combo, especially when you recognise that the Cyclops was assassinated in order to cover up the game's diminished environments, you realise that no matter how good the sea truck is, it just can't compete. When all is said and done, where Subnautica originally grew into an underwater survival simulator with immersion being at its core, Below Zero tried to re-engineer its best element into a tighter, richer, narrative-driven adventure. And on a surface level, it did succeed at this, but those weren't the elements that made Subnautica so iconic. But Below Zero utilized early access feedback for 2 years, which means not even the early access community fully understood what they were helping shape.
No.
Precisely where Subnautica 3 will take place seems to be up for debate, but Charlie Cleveland did tweet last year, "What would excite you most about the next game in the Subnautica universe?" And of the 5,000 odd responses, story was in fact the lowest return. Okay, I thought that's reassuring, the people have spoken. But what took the top spot was not in fact biomes, but none other than co-op. Well, we've seen survival horror staples like Resident Evil get almost destroyed by introducing co-op, and I'm always on the fence because I grew up on co-ops. I love them.
Do it now! Give him the shot!
But that is surely the absolute nemesis of immersion-driven experiences. However, it does seem like the next practical step for a developer with increasingly grand ambitions. In the same tweet, somebody responded with the answer, birds, which bizarrely was the only tweet Cleveland liked, which again spun up the online rumour mill. And all of this just leaves me a little bit anxious because birds mean land, and if land and co-op gameplay are indeed two major focuses of the next title, no matter how many sales they make, the isolationist spirit of the first game is unlikely to ever return in the same form.
Yeah.
Are you excited for the next Subnautica? And
I mean,
so, what would
I
you
am,
introduce to
but
the series?
probably
Or
not gonna
indeed,
play
what
it.
would you purge from Below Zero? As always, let me know in the comments. I can never get enough of talking about Subnautica. If you
I
can
see
like or
that.
sub, I would be so grateful. I've only just hit 2,000 subscribers and I have a long way to go. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself.
I mean, great video. Long and also a little bit slow, but yeah, I agree. I agree with the casual gamer. Like, it seems like it was an unworthy sequel, sadly. Having headaches, I really want to watch all these videos, but I'm just having so much trouble staying, like, alive. What time is it? It's like 3:30? Like 3:30. Okay. I think I have a few more videos in me before I die completely and utterly. So we're gonna jump into this channel that's called Soggy Cereal, which just has the best name ever. The best name ever. YouTube's worst sponsorship is back. BetterHelp. I kind of remember the controversy of BetterHelp. So I'm interested. I'm interested.
Hey, my bowl of cereal, better
Hi.
help yourself to a seat and some cereal, because
Yes.
today we're in
cereal.
for a wild
I really wanna.
ride.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Sponsorships, they're everywhere these days. They're in
I
your
wish.
closet.
This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow
I
Legends.
wish.
Raid is one of the most...
They're in your backyard.
Go to establishedtitles.com/Calvin and Habs.
They're even in your cereal. And I'm completely fine with that. I don't mind
great.
creators promoting a brand deal if that
Good.
means that they can give me better content. But there is one service, one company which has clawed its way back from the depths it was cast into 6 years ago. A company that seemingly caused most of my favorite YouTubers to experience a memory blackout and forgot all about their first scandal back in 2018, and that is BetterHelp. BetterHelp.
What was the scandal?
Better
though?
help me not get a cease and desist letter from their lawyers after I release this video, like
I hope
other
not.
YouTubers have.
Oh,
This
really?
company hired, I'm assuming, very
Oh boy,
expensive
we're in for a
and
good
got
one.
very strongly worded cease and desist letter from BetterHelp.
For the people who don't know BetterHelp, well, first of all, thank you, because that means that this is the first YouTube video you've watched in the past 6 years. And I appreciate that. Because today, almost every creator is sponsored by it, even the ones I love. Mr. Ballin, The Try Guys, Jax Films, Nick Crawley, Jubilee, and so many more. BetterHelp is a 24/7 online therapy service.
Okay.
They promise easily accessible therapy with licensed therapists
Pretty good.
for an arguably cheap price. They're like Fiverr, but for mental health. And if that sounds like a terrible idea,
Yeah,
to you,
it
don't
does.
worry. That's because it is.
Oh,
the company
great.
has been in scandal after scandal after scandal for the past 6 years. Some of you might remember that back in 2018, countless of creators were also being sponsored by BetterHelp, until their first scandal came to light. Remember when I mentioned that they promised licensed therapists? Well,
Yes.
in 2018, the only license they had was for being stinky little liars.
Affordable and private online therapy with a professional. They don't guarantee the verification of the
It's been a while.
skills, degrees, qualifications, certification, credentials, competence, or background of any counselor. It's your responsibility to determine whether they have any degree or qualification.
I'm sorry,
Once
what?
this came to light, everyone
It's your responsibility to check their licenses. We offer the service, nothing else. What the freak is wrong with you?
started dropping BetterHelp as a sponsorship, of course.
I was one of the disgusting YouTubers that did a BetterHelp promotion, and this was before I knew any of the, you know, the controversy.
BetterHelp, better help yourself out of this PR disaster.
They did.
Which they have.
Yes.
Because they're back now.
BetterHelp.
Worse than ever. In the past few months, many of my favorite creators
You know,
have been pushing BetterHelp again. And as naive as I could be, I thought, I mean, BetterHelp might have improved themselves. Their first scandal did happen 6 years ago. And I did read that
it's
they
been a
now
while.
do only use licensed therapists. That wasn't until I started reading the comment section on the videos that they were sponsoring. Quick reminder about BetterHelp's controversial past and also how they're selling your information to advertisers.
Oh
Please
boy.
don't take BetterHelp's money, they do more harm than good. I really wish you wouldn't continue advertising BetterHelp. They sold mental health data for marketing
Allegedly.
without anonymizing it for massive profits.
Oh boy.
Well, screw you, random comments. Because Alan Matas, the co-founder of BetterHelp, assured me
Matas?
he would never do anything as crazy
You know,
as he...
it means kill in Spanish. You kill, like, matas. Oh boy, that's good.
Private mental health data from their users. We called it a far-fetched conspiracy and a gross violation of federal laws, state laws, HIPAA regulations, and their own terms and privacy policy. Which
Are
is
you
why
sure
they
about
were
that?
fined $7.8 million by the FTC last year for doing exactly that.
Oh boy!
Yeah, so the FTC proved that they have been sharing private mental health data of their
That's
users,
great.
as well
Good for
as their
them.
IP addresses, email address, with companies like Facebook and Snapchat This mental health data included answers to very personal questions such as sexual orientation, specific reasons for wanting therapy, possible eating disorders, and so much more. Of course, when they were asking those questions of their users, they ensured them that they wouldn't be sharing this at all. Except with their therapist, of course. And yeah. Oh boy, can't wait what ads Facebook is gonna show me now that they think I'm an anxious, unemployed, widowed bisexual experiencing eating disorders and daddy issues.
Okay, great.
An ad for BetterHelp? Oh man! And those are just the lies they were caught on so far. And I mean, they've been lying about these ones for years. But you know, poor startup multi-billion-dollar company can't apologize for their actions. It's not their fault that they try to abuse goodwill of their users for personal corporate gain. So let's give them a chance and actually check out their services. And who better to check it out than someone with a master's degree in psychology who is giving therapy right now? My girlfriend.
Hey!
For one second I thought, like there was, I thought he didn't have a girlfriend. Oh my god, it would have been funny.
I already told you about BetterHelp and how great of a company they are.
Yeah.
Well, since I'm just a dumb content creator and you're a literal holder of a master's degree in psychology, I would like you to talk about the services BetterHelp provides their users. I mean, look at all these beautiful green BetterHelp check marks, while in-office poop sessions have all these red crosses. You know, unlike in-office therapy, BetterHelp has messaging at any time, chat sessions, video sessions, phone sessions.
I mean, most in-office therapists have phones and laptops as well.
Oh.
No, they don't. Well, you might have a master's degree, but I'm pretty sure you haven't learned how to message at any time.
I mean, I don't think the BetterHelp therapists are gonna answer 24/7. They have their personal lives, and we as therapists want the client to be able to process what they learned and not text us 24/7, because then you're not gonna grow as a person.
I think you're wrong. Wait, so you dare say that BetterHelp's perks are actually not perks? They're creps?
It's fucking stupid.
I mean, you guys don't have easy to switch providers.
Fuck does that even mean?
Well, either they're talking about switching telecom providers, but I'm pretty sure they're referring to easily being able to switch therapists.
I mean, in-office therapists can be changed.
No! We all know you're assigned an in-office therapist at
forever!
You can't change it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Jokes aside, my in-office therapist had basically all of these services. I mean, I could text her whenever, I could mail her. When I had to move abroad to Sweden, we just did video call therapy for 4 months. So this deceitful chart should actually look like this. Okay, so can you guess how much they dare ask for this?
It's supposed to be cheaper than in-office therapy, right? So $120.
$300! I'm sorry. More specifically, $260 to $360 a month, depending on location, preferences, and therapist availability. Do you know how much I paid for my 2 60-minute sessions for in-office therapy a month?
$130.
$130. Like, who the fuck is this service even for? You know what? We shouldn't be judging the BetterHelp platform without having tried it. We're not paying for. Yeah, we don't have $300 laying around. No, there are enough horror stories on TikTok where they share what I hope no one will ever have to experience in therapy. So you want to watch some TikToks?
No.
Well,
I did BetterHelp for about 3
I
years.
do.
The straw that broke my back was when the therapist was in office for the first time. The last time was in her living room, and I was like, I'm just gonna believe no one else is there. As I log onto the video, she's talking to someone and then just stops talking. It's like, hey, how are you? So let's get started. I'm like, someone is in there. She gets up, walks out an open door, meaning there was no privacy, goes into the lounge of like the office.
Oh my god.
Makes popcorn while I'm talking, and then comes back sits down and is eating popcorn with her mouth full, just chewing.
It's like entertainment.
Wait, was I supposed to react to something?
How many years do you think it's going to be before we see a true crime documentary about BetterHelp?
I mean,
BetterHelp twice.
Maybe next year. Maybe the next year.
I actually got a refund from them. So my first therapist was 10 minutes late to our 10-minute meeting, our first initial meeting.
Oh boy.
And then she was like, oh wow, we don't have a lot of time. I contacted them and I got a different therapist. He was also late and just completely missed our first meeting. We said a second one, he missed that one, and then he just texted like, oh man, I'm so sorry, I was at my other job. And I was just like, what?
Wait, didn't they advertise in-office therapy being bad because they have waiting times? With in-office therapy, you've got to spend time in their waiting rooms. With BetterHelp, you can save that time. And spend it in our waiting room.
Yes.
I tried BetterHelp like a year ago. And in my first meeting, they're like, well, what are you struggling with? And I tell them I have an anxiety disorder, a panic disorder, and I'm dealing with depression. To which he goes, I don't think you really have those disorders. It's just society's fault because...
Society! We live in a society!
Right now, they're oppressing men. You can't go out and compliment a woman without becoming a sex offender. Now, I'm just gobsmacked by this. Just like...
What the fuck?
What? But he continues down this tangent. And then he goes, well, and you're also a straight white man, so of course you're the reason that everything in the world is bad.
Well,
when you look at history and think about it, we're really the saviors of the world.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I closed
Here we go.
the laptop after that, and I was done. Don't do BetterHelp.
Imagine paying like $300 a month just to get assigned to Andrew Tate with a psychology degree. Look, I'm not saying that...
Actually, that would be pretty funny though. Like, I'm not saying, like, it's, like, not to be taken seriously, but it would be pretty funny to, like, see, you know? Not experience, but to see.
Helped anyone. I mean, that would be crazy. There have been people who said that their platform actually improved their mental health enormously. But with the countless horror stories and their shady practices, I don't know if the goods outweigh the bads. There are also
probably not.
Articles of how poorly and disrespectful their therapists are being treated. It's truly just a mess for both therapists and clients. I'll leave some links in the description if you want to read up on that. Again, I don't think YouTubers have to only advertise the greatest of products. However, when a company with such a shady and deceitful past tries to sell something as important as a mental health service, that in my opinion is...
I'm gonna take a sponsorship no matter what. But no, just kidding. I don't know if I would. I had to think about it. Like, I know, like, what's more important, like, my subscribers' mental health, because I'm selling something to my subscribers, and I wouldn't want it to be something bad. So if, like, BetterHelp came in and was like, hey, we could sponsor you, I would think about it, because I need the money. Like, realistically speaking, I need the money. Like, let's be honest, but also it would be shady on my part to do so, because I want the best for my subscribers, and if this company has like the worst reviews and controversies, why would you take like that sponsorship? Like, you're hurting yourself and your audience at the same time. It's like, that's why you do background checks with sponsorships.
Sucks? Yeah, well, that should be called out, and I think creators should be informed. So if you know anyone that still does BetterHelp sponsorships, you can just show them this video. And if you ever think of paying for BetterHelp, go instead seek BetterHelp.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my last pun, I promise. BetterHelp, more like better help me get 1,000 followers on Instagram.com/thesoggiest.cereal, link in the description. I mean, if you enjoyed this video, better help me out by subscribing to my channel and watching some of my other videos to become part of my cereal bowl, so we can become the largest cereal bowl on YouTube, and I can absorb all of your fibers and nutrients.
Great. Wait, no, don't! Jesus. I mean, that's a great video. It's simple, it's like short but to the point, and I love that. So yeah, it's a great video. But yeah, no, I don't know. I don't think I'll have a sponsor like anytime soon, so I don't think I have to worry about that. Maybe I'll grow and I'll become even more scummy. Maybe I'll just like grow and become even more hateful and resentful, because why not? So yeah, I am so sick and I'm not feeling great, so I'm gonna leave the rest of this for another day. So thank you everybody so much for watching, if you watched this stream, and I'll see you soon, hopefully. I don't know when, Saturday maybe, I don't know. Well, I don't know, I'm working on a new video. Bye bye.